I'm just going to grab my drink. Hang on. Yeah, so we did it. We did our September challenge. I'm absolutely thrilled, very proud of myself, super happy. And yeah, we did it. We absolutely did it. We nailed it, I think. So yeah, I'm really, let me just turn this down over here. Yeah, I'm really happy with how September went. And I think I'm going to use this forum to kind of wrap up my thoughts on it and share a few other miscellaneous ideas and where I kind of sit now. And it's still early. It's still only 2 days after my challenge ended. It's the 2nd of October today. So, you know, there's still lots of room and time to change. Hi, Deb and Jeff. Thank you. Thank you so much for your congratulations. Hi, TM Garden Escape and Explore. Thank you as well. And yeah, so I'm super happy. Hi, Shannon. So glad you could make it. Yeah, my feeling is one of, well, it's a combination of lots of different things, actually. There's a little bit of me which is just really proud of myself and really happy and proud of my family and what we've achieved. And thank you, Shannon. And there's a little bit of me that is feeling the relief of it, because as much as anything else, you know, one of the things that was really nice last night was just not having to edit anything, having that kind of, it sounds like, you know, it's a problem I've created for myself, and it's not a complaint, but the pressure of, you know, always having to edit a video and upload a video every single night is, you know, it's not nothing. And, you know, the filming of all the cooking and family meal times and stuff. So it's really nice. It's like you know, the pressure's just been released, and yeah, what a great feeling. I'm in a really good place. And genuinely, I think it will have significantly changed some of my habits going forward. Hello, the Parnabys. So glad you could make it. And yeah, so TM Garden Escape and Explore says, I honestly don't know how you did it. Well, I think, you know, honestly, it was a bit easier than I was expecting for the most part. You know, there were definitely things that were difficult, and you saw them. I feel like I really managed to communicate the whole process. And those of you who followed along, I really appreciate that, first of all. I really appreciate the time you've invested in following this journey. But, you know, I think there's been difficult moments, but most of it was all mental, you know, it's all a mental thing. I was never once was I like hungry and there wasn't any food to eat. Never once was I thirsty and there wasn't anything to drink. It was all just, you know, just being used to things, you know. So hi, Sally Norden, and thank you very much for your congratulations. Yeah, awesome. Oh, thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you, Vicky. And thank you, Jeff and Deb. So no, I appreciate your kind words, all of you. But yeah, we're here. You know, this is definitely a celebratory moment. I'm really happy. You can tell. I know I smile quite a lot, but yeah, no, I'm really happy. It was just so interesting. I feel like you learned a lot, and then we learned a lot too. I'm excited to see where to from now. That's Shannon, thank you. And already looking forward to following next September. I might even join in on my own TM Garden Escape and Explore. Awesome. Well, yeah, I floated this idea before, and I think next September, I really want to make this a communal thing. And I want everybody who wants to choose a challenge, you know, whether it's the same challenge that I'm doing or whether it's, you know, whatever it might be. You know, I've tailored mine, you know, I've tailored mine to allow bartering this year, and I think I'm going to step it up next year. So I'm not sure exactly what next year's September challenge will look like, but it will be tailored to my situation at the time, and it will be a challenge. You know, it's not going to be simple, and I encourage everyone to kind of think of their own challenge that they can set themselves and join in, and we can all share our experiences. I think that would be a really fun thing to do. So yeah, give it some thought. And some of you already are, Jeff and Deb, in Southern Australia. Is it Southern Australia? I know you're near Melbourne, or Melbourne, as we would say here in the UK. Yeah, you're thinking of what you're going to do next September. So that's awesome. You know, I love that idea, and we can all bounce off each other, share ideas, and share our wins and losses. So that's going to be awesome. But like I said, we're only just out of it. It's the 2nd of October today. So everything is, as always with me, subject to change. But I do feel like there's a couple of things that are going to stick with me. Whether they stick with me forever or not, we don't know. But the main one is caffeine. I don't think I'm going to go back to caffeine. My energy levels are just so much more balanced at the moment. And I wake up in the morning at about 6:30 this morning on a Saturday, and I got out and got up out of bed and was up and around doing things, and that's never usually the case at the weekend. On a Saturday or a Sunday, if I don't have a commitment, I don't just bounce out of bed like that usually. And like I say, my energy levels are just so much more level. It's really nice, really nice. So I don't think I'm going to go back to caffeine. And what is amazing is I even thought on Friday, which was the 1st of October, and throughout September, when I've been having these cravings for different things, I thought, well, on Friday, I'll have some junk food and all that kind of stuff. And I absolutely did. But I woke up in the morning and I toyed with the idea of making myself a packed lunch, and not out of any sense of needing to, not out of any sense of continuing the challenge or setting up, just felt like it. And I had junk food for lunch. I had a McDonald's for lunch, and I really wasn't that bothered. And I felt I had it because I sort of almost felt like I had to, because I'd set that as almost like a prize, but I just didn't need it. And that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm going to enjoy everything the world has to offer. I love different foods and things like that, but I'm not feeling the cravings for junk food at all that I thought I'd be having, and I thought I'd be diving headlong into it. Now, that said, we have a family trip, the belated trip for my daughter's birthday to Zaza Bazaar tomorrow, which most of you guys will already know from me talking about it, is just this ridiculous mecca of fast food. But and I will stuff myself there, as I always do. But I don't feel like I need it. I don't feel like all those things are required as much as I thought I would. So tomorrow I'm going to be cooking a family meal, and it's going to be, usual stuff. I'm going to cook a big beef bourguignon, because there's some leftovers I need to work through. We've got some beef joint leftovers, so I'm going to make a beef bourguignon, and we're back to regular food, the sort of food our family always have. And I'm not in a place where I feel like I need to be eating chips and all of those high fat, high sugar food. I just don't. And so yesterday when I had some French fries at McDonald's, and they were just ridiculously salty, and I just didn't need that. So I think, even though it was only a month, I think my tastes have definitely changed, only slightly. So let me have a look. There's a couple of messages here. I think all the Aussies here are from South Australia. Yeah, so that seems right. And that's what I wanted to get to. So Vicky, and I encourage you all, if you've got any questions about the September challenge, or, the end of the September challenge, please do ask them. I'd be, delighted to have your questions and answer them. But Vicky Parnaby says, so no more car Coke. No, that's a huge thing. So yesterday I'm at McDonald's, and I would normally have a coffee. I didn't have a coffee. I didn't want a sweet fizzy drink. I had water. That's what I ordered. And that is unheard of. That's ridiculous. If you'd taken bets on that happening before September with my family, you could have made an awful lot of money betting on water. And I took water with me to work yesterday in the car. And today I went out and collected some animal feed, and I took water with me in the car again. I've got a massive crate of Diet Pepsi, which are just sat there, and they've been sat there all month, and I haven't touched them. And whether I will never, ever, ever drink them, I don't know. But I'm just not. I feel very strongly right now that I don't want caffeine. It's not a case of not desiring it. I actively don't want it. I'm going to work really hard to, not have the water. So, Shannon, what about losing weight, mate? So I lost about 2 kilograms, which for me, I'm going to say isn't very significant at all. I fluctuate in weight by probably 6 kilograms, 6 to 7 kilograms throughout the year, just all the time, up and down. So that's not, that 2 kilograms for me isn't huge. And I think there's kind of, even though I said previously that, I've kind of documented everything and I've shared everything, I think the one thing that maybe hasn't come across is just how much milk I was drinking. This is milk and honey right here. And this is my go-to drink now in the house instead of sweet fizzy drinks. But it's calorifically fairly dense because the honey is very, very calorifically dense, and it's full fat milk from our goats. So I was drinking, this is a 75 centiliter. So 3/4 of a litre. What does that work out to? Just under 2 pints, something like that, of milk. And I was drinking maybe 3 of these a day, give or take. So I think, because looking back now on some of the videos, it looks like my calorific intake wasn't that high, because I was really, after the first few days when I got into this habit, it was just taken as a given and I didn't share that every day. So it looks like the meals I were eating on some days, it wasn't a massive amount of calorific intake, but I think coupled with all of the fats and calories that are in here, that's where I was getting a significant portion of my energy source from. So I think also that's what has led to me not losing a lot more weight. I think I could have lost a lot more weight if I had drunk more water and less milk. But my general routine was I'd get up in the morning and I'd have a pint or so of milk. Then it would be water almost right through the day. And then it would be the milk and honey from really the minute I got home till the minute I went to bed. So, quite a lot there. A few comments I want to get to. Where are we? Are you actually enjoying the water or just not craving the sweet fizz? I'm just not craving the sweet fizz. The water to me now is just nothing. It's not like something I enjoy, but it's not something I really turn my nose up at or, want to avoid either. So that's definitely a positive that's come out of this. And next up, TM Garden Escape. And it's really interesting how quickly our palate can change. It goes to show how much is habit, 100%. And that's blown my mind, really, is how different I feel about my desires around food right now after just 1 month. And just the amount of salt I want on things, the amount of junk food I actually want, even if, because the brakes are off, I can do whatever I want. And I've given myself permission over these few days to, really go to town and I'm having whatever I want. I'm not putting any limitations on myself. And I think that even within that frame, I'm just not going for it. And I think that's a surprise, a massive, massive surprise to me. What else? Amazing how many habits you've created and are going to be so great for your health. Yeah, I certainly hope so. And I'm also, what I'm doing over the next, which kind of ties into what we've been talking about, is I'm just relaxing on the amount of doing that I'm doing. There's so many things that I need to do. I need to get a grip of my garden because I haven't spent nearly as much time out there over the last few weeks as I should have. And we've got a ridiculous amount of produce that needs my attention for preserving and all sorts of other things. And that coupled with the fact that I've had a really intensive month of just constant food prep and filming and editing and things like that, is what I am doing is I'm taking my foot off the gas completely when it comes to some of the stuff I do in the kitchen, like cheese making and sourdough. I'm having a week off sourdough. I'm not making any this weekend. And if we want some more, if we want more than we have, because we've got about 2 loaves, I think, I'll just buy some. I'll buy some sourdough from the bakery next door. And, you know, that's okay. We can all give ourselves permission to do these things. And that doesn't change who we are, doesn't change what we're about or where we're going. But for me, I need a week or so to kind of recharge my batteries and stuff. So yeah, that's where we are. I've got another few bits that I wanted to get through down here. So my son, we had a curry last night, and my son loves curry, Torrin, and no one has ever enjoyed a curry as much as he did last night. And he's been really playfully pantomime angry at me because his diet has changed for the last month, insofar as there's lots of staple meals that we might have once a week or once a fortnight that Dad cooks and that Dad hasn't been cooking. So he's really missed out on spaghetti and meatballs and curry. And we had that last night, and he was absolutely, over the mood. Where are we? I just wondered, is making or made homemade pastries before the next September challenge would help for your packed lunches? And that's from AB. Yeah, 100%. Pastries is something that I toyed with the idea of, but it was too late in the day and I didn't have the time or energy to kind of look at. But yeah, definitely pastries. I didn't go as far as doing much research on it, but I'm fairly confident that I can make some pastries with our lard and, flour and what have you. But pastries is a great idea. And what I like about pastry as well is it's just as you've alluded to, I could do it in advance, get a load in the freezer, and then, then we'd be up and running, wouldn't we? But yeah, so what else? Talking about my family and my son, and he's now over the moon. He's had his curry, got Zaza Bazaar tomorrow, and then I've promised him spaghetti and meatballs this week. So I'm going to make a bourguignon tomorrow. Once we get back from Zaza Bazaar, I won't be eating it tomorrow, but we'll make it. And then, it's nice actually to be back in the habit of every night cooking for the whole family and us. Although it didn't come across in the videos, but we did sit down and eat around the same time every day, even if we were eating the same food. But it's nice that we're all going to be sharing the same food again every night. And, that means a great deal to me. And it's not something that's necessarily translatable on a channel like this. But that's one of the times that we kind of earmark for spending time as a family. And it's also some of the, the best times that we have. They're really enjoyable. And my kids are hilarious. I bet Jackie is happy that you're not making such a mess anymore either. Yeah, absolutely. She's, it got a bit much. But yeah, we're all there. We're back to our usual, our usual cycles, and everything's settling back down again for me personally. So yeah, that's it. That's my September challenge wrapped up, and I've got an immense sense of achievement from it. And I suppose one of the things that I really wanted from it and that I got was to be able to stand in a place and talk about the idea of being completely food self-sufficient and the achievability of that and what that looks like. And as you guys will know, my ethos is always and has always been that I'm never going to be in a position, I don't believe, where we are as a family 100% self-sufficient. And because I don't think that that is necessarily desirable. But what I do want, and what's really important for me, is to be in a position where I have all the skills and all the knowledge that I can then pick and choose which elements I want to be that way in. And I've definitely 100% made huge strides in that endeavor over the last month, So, little things like the dried radish and the dried seaweed as additions to stocks and things. And obviously the salt, having done that, I'm very happy to have done that. But that's a great example of something that I don't think it will ever make sense to have that as the way that you always get your salt, because salt is so cheaply available in the shops, and you can get exactly the same quality salt, you know, you could argue, for, you know, a tiny price, probably less than you spend on fuel, depending on where you live, driving to the shoreline and back. So, you know, that's just something that doesn't make sense. However, knowing that for whatever reason, if it came to the point that I needed to, I could do it and I know how, that's, for me, that's invaluable. That's so important, and, you know, something I'm really, really, really thrilled for. And I think next September, I'm definitely going to be adding things to my repertoire. So there are lots of peppercorns that you can grow in this climate. So there's no need, there's no reason for me not to have my own pepper. It was just something that I didn't have in place at the time. I think also for the next September, I think I'm probably going to disbar bartering. Now, there's only two things, there's only two ingredients that I used that I bartered for this whole month, and that is honey and flour. But they were both ridiculously important. I mean, the honey I used in so many things. I used it in the sauces, not all of them obviously, but some of the sauces to give it the sweetness. I also used it to make the courgette chutney. I used it to make the ice cream that I ate right at the start. And apart from those kinds of things, I also was drinking it every single day just here. And the honey was just so important. But next year, that should be honey I've produced myself anyway. And the other one, flour, again, was ridiculously important to me. And I used that to thicken my gravies and sauces. I used it to make sourdough, and I used it to make pasta. I probably used it for a few other things that are eluding me now. But, you know, those three things. Okay, so let's quickly look at those. I suppose I could not use it to thicken sauces. I could just have them thinner. So, you know, that's okay. We could do without that. But the pasta and sourdough, those made up huge elements. Oh, and the crackers that I was using for lunchtimes, those made up huge elements of my diet. Now, as things stand at the moment, I would just have to replace those with some form of potato. So, you know, however I cook a potato. And so that's doable. That's doable. But you can see the difference in the meals that would be available to me. You can see the difference in range that I have and choice if you take flour away. It's such a versatile, useful ingredient. But I think by not allowing bartering next year, that might be the challenge, and why it becomes a challenge next year rather than just a rerun of this year with a bit extra experience and a bit more planning. I think it would be quite easy for me to do this again. But without the flour, it's going to force me to become more inventive, and I like that idea. So I think for next year, maybe what I would do is I would try and grow my own wheat, at least some, and much like this year with some of my experiments where I just had a tiny bit, or when things didn't go right, like the tomatoes. So I might have a tiny amount of flour I can use. Also maybe create some acorn flour or corn flour of my own. These are all things to look into between now and next year. And that's kind of where my head's at and what I'm thinking about next year's challenge, to make it more of a challenge, you know, to make it worthwhile doing again rather than just a repeat of this year. The hippie homeschool mum, well done. I've enjoyed watching your journey for this September self-sufficiency challenge, although you have given my husband ideas. Awesome. So hopefully, Faye, you guys might be joining us all next September, or those of us who are going to partake in setting your own challenge up. That'd be awesome. Vicky Parnaby, it's also the energy and condensation in the house, evaporating the water off the salt. 100% true, although I do kind of get away with that because we've got a fire pit just outside the kitchen door, and I would tend to do, I didn't last time with all of it, but I tend to do most things like that on the fire pit outside. Jeff and Deb Shipton. We have an author here, Jackie French, who wrote in her book, Backyard Self-Sufficiency, that being totally self-sufficient is possible, but it's exhausting. That sounds like your experience too. Yes, 100%. So that's, I suppose, my concluding thought on the September challenge is it's possible, but exhausting. And there are other, we can make choices to make it not exhausting and not be 100% self-sufficient. And I think that's the sensible way to go, because we can still get all the benefits that we want from it, whatever they are, and they're different for everyone, whether it's just the benefit of being connected to where your food comes from and the mental health benefits of being connected to plants and growing food, or whether it's because you just want more provenance over where your meat comes from and your main concerns are animal husbandry concerns and animal welfare concerns. And I have to say, that's right near the top of the list for me. Or whether it's because you're concerned about chemicals on your vegetables and things, all these things, whether it's about because you're trying to save some money, whatever it is, you can still get all of those benefits and choose certain areas in which you're going to subsidize your kind of self-sufficient ideals with purchases and make everything sort of so much easier on yourself. So yes, I absolutely agree with that. And you made some sourdough crackers today as well. Awesome, awesome. They're the best thing. They're the best thing. TM Garden Escape and Explore. So will you be growing new produce next year that you haven't grown before as a result of the challenge? Well, yes, wheat is definitely one I want to look at. Although having said that, with regards to next year, our circumstances are still so up in the air that that's going to be its own challenge. Looking at what we do and how we do it. I'll talk about that just briefly in a second. That'll probably be the last thing I cover today, I think. Hi, Elliot. So glad you joined us. How are we doing? Saving money, not with the amount my rabbits and ducks eat. No, absolutely, Vicky. So I think if you're going to choose to save money doing this, then you have to pick and choose the things you're going to focus on. For instance, our pigs, that a huge saving in money due to the way we fed them and everything else. Our chickens, for keeping chickens, for chicken eggs is going to save you money if you do it correctly, if you do it the right way, I think, or it could. It certainly does us. But yes, there are certain things that definitely aren't going to save you money. Even being self-sufficient in something is still a worthwhile pursuit in so many ways. Jeff and Deb, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And that's always my focus, and I never, ever, ever want anyone to look at what I'm doing and think, okay, so I have to do that or I can't do anything, because that's nonsense. And my whole thing is about being a have-a-go homesteader, and the purpose of this channel. If this channel has a purpose, and my podcast, if they have a purpose, then that purpose is to make people think, I can have a go at that, whatever that is. And that's my goal. That's the purpose. And you don't have to have a go at everything. For me, I love it. That's what I want to do. But we're not all the same. We don't all have the same environments and situations. And some people can't have a go at raising pigs. But wherever you are, there's things you can have a go at and become self-sufficient in. With the tiniest amount of space, you can become self-sufficient in garlic. With an even smaller amount of space, you can become self-sufficient in the 2 or 3 herbs you use most often. And it just snowballs out from there, Vicky Parnaby, culling at commercial age, not growing them on any longer would help. Yeah, absolutely. Have a go homesteader, there's a t-shirt. Well, interesting you say that, because I'm in the process of writing a few books, and it's going to be a series, and it's going to be the Have a Go Homesteader series. And so I'm writing a book called the Homestead Kitchen, and I'm also writing a small ebook, which is going to be a cookbook, going to be a recipe book based on this September challenge, and all the recipes, everything I cooked in there is going to be in there. And I think over the course of the next few years, it could make a really nice series of little books. But yeah, that's the plan. I built a chicken run. You gave me the confidence to use power tools for the first time. That's awesome, Shannon. That's ridiculously awesome. That makes me feel so proud. Proud of you. Well done. And that's the point, is you can. There's nothing I'm doing. There's nothing I'm doing that you can't do. There really isn't. There's nothing I'm doing that anyone has taken me and taught me. Nothing. And there's nothing I'm doing that I've been on a course for. You know, all the things I'm doing, I've learned myself, and I've hopefully shared my successes and my failures. Even the stroganoff, Elliot. Yes, even the stroganoff. You could for the cookbook. Well, there's a couple of recipes that didn't work out. The stroganoff and the tzatziki, which I don't know if you noticed at the end of that video, but my daughter called the tzatziki yogcumber. So there's a couple of things, namely those two. And what I am going to do is I'm going to perfect them. I'm going to make another couple of versions on them and try and get them right. So what I'll probably do is I will include the recipe I used in the book, and then include a better, improved version of it. So yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. And as always, anyone who's a patron, you will get all of these books and everything I make for free. If you're a patron at the time I release anything that I would otherwise charge for, you will qualify to get that for free. And yeah, just a way of saying thank you to you guys who always support me. It's you know, most welcome. I'm just so grateful always. Yeah, so if you've got any other questions about September, get them in now, because we're going to be wrapping up in probably 10 or 20 minutes. But before we do, I'm going to talk a little bit about our future here and where we're going. So my wife and I have kind of made a decision. It's as much of a decision as we're able to make at the moment. So we are going to be moving out of this house in or around April. Is it April? Easter of next year anyway. The school Easter holidays. And we have made the decision that financially, the only thing that makes sense is that we move back to our old house. Now, our old house is a very standard house, and it has a very standard garden. And over the next week or two, I'm hoping I'll be able to get out there and give you guys a bit of a tour of where we're moving to. But our garden is not big enough to keep goats. It's not big enough to keep pigs. It's not big enough, really, if I want to grow a vegetable garden, to keep anything more than a handful of chickens in. So we're also going to be buying or renting, but hopefully buying a field. And the idea is that we'll kind of run the two in harmony. So I'm going to bring you guys through this whole process. And as always, there's still a tremendous amount that's up in the air. But if we buy a field, for example, then maybe the plan would be one day that we get to build a house there and live on it. Maybe not, you know, we'll have to see where this field is and what it is. But if I buy a field, then we'll be able to install things like a food forest, you know, really long-term thinking, and some structures that are gonna allow me to create like a learning center so that I can really do everything I want to do. If we rent a field, then we won't be able to do all of those things. But in either case, we will definitely be having our animals there. We'll be having goats or sheep and pigs and all these kinds of things there. But there's going to be a period between us having this place and having that up and running that we're maybe having to really downsize. And it's really important to me that by next summer we have this field, but there might be a period of a couple of months where we don't. So we've made the decision, we've almost made the decision, that we're probably going to sell our goats. The idea being that it just frees up a lot of mental space, and it means that we can kind of look at things with a blank slate. Now, there's no future, there is no future where I don't own goats. So it's not that we're never gonna have goats, but if we sell them, what it does is a few things. It gives us one less animal to worry about instantly getting fencing and housing set up for to move from here to there. It also provides us with, you know, a temporary piece of income. We've bred the goats again, so Sid is in there doing his work now. So it won't be until the spring. We'll have the babies, we'll sell the babies and the mums and everything all as one, and they'll be really valuable at that point because the Toggenburgs will be in milk. So someone will be able to buy a milking goat or a pair of milking goats that are in milk. We can then basically move to a new home, bring in new animals when we're ready. So that's kind of the plan at the moment. So you guys that, you know, kind of only follow me for the animals, please don't think that this is the end of our goats or the end of us having animals. It really isn't. But it does allow us to kind of rethink everything. And, you know, all of a sudden then we're thinking, well, we can do whatever we want. You know, we're definitely going to have goats, but maybe we bring in a Dexter cow as well, or instead first, or whatever. You know, maybe we have just a load of orphan lambs, and for 6 months we just do that. And you know, raising sheep is something I haven't had enough experience with, and I'd like to have some more. So raising lambs for slaughter would be something I'm really interested in. So, you know, but basically what I'm saying is we're giving ourselves a bit more free range. And I think, I promised you, it's going to be a really exciting time, and we'll bring you along for the whole experience. So I'll bring you when I'm field shopping, when we're looking to buy a field. I'll bring you with me because we're going to make some renovations to the other house as well. So we will bring you with us for that, and we will bring you with us when we turn our garden, our small garden, into a vegetable plot from scratch. And you know, there's so much is going to be happening from ground zero. So you know, that's the plan. So few questions. Where are we here? Sounds like a really logical plan, mate. Thank you very much. Sounds like a great plan. Where will the bees be going? So I'm spoilt for choice for the bees. My brother-in-law's house, which has got a large garden, and my father-in-law's house, which has got a large garden. Those guys are both desperate to have some bees there. So in terms of finding housing for the bees, that's not going to be a problem at all. And I will probably also have bees at the new field when we get it. And yeah, so Jeff and Deb, Shipton, Sid too. Can he go somewhere else for a bit? Sounds like a sensible plan though. Yeah, so that's a great question. And the reason it's a great question is because Sid has been such a superstar. And I have learnt, as always, a bit more about goats over the last 6 months. So as you guys will know, we have never, before Sid, we've never had a male goat. We've never owned one. We've always hired one, or we've bought one, owned one, used him for a few weeks and then sold him again. We've never kept one long term. And when we brought Sid in, we were really, really thrilled with him for several reasons, not least of which the stink, his attitude, his temperament, and his ability to produce kids. His first season here, from 3 female goats, he produced 2 sets of twins and a set of triplets. These are all amazing traits. But the stink, I think, might be due to the fact he was just young. He was a young goat, because in the last 2 months or so, he has got more and more stinky, and he is incredibly stinky at the moment. Not as bad as a lot of other goats, but a lot worse than he was. And I wonder if that's his maturity, and as he gets on, that sort of benefit will disappear. And that was the main reason, actually, why we didn't want to keep a goat. So we are slightly less enamored with him than we once were. But I think in an ideal world, what will happen is I'm actually going to arrange to sell him. And then the plan will be, when we come to sell him, I'm actually going to waive the fee. I haven't, found anyone to buy him yet, but I'm going to advertise him for sale. When someone wants to buy him, I'm going to say yes, and you can buy him, or you can have him for free if we can borrow him back for a month a year. And I think that might be the best of all worlds, because he is also the only goat we have that escapes. And if we have any headache over a goat, it's Sid. So I think that might be the best of all worlds. But again, nothing is set in stone. Everything is subject to change. These are all ideas, but these are kind of the ideas that we've got at the moment. So yeah, that's where we are. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to start wrapping this up, I think. But I do want to just end with a few plugs, because I don't do it enough here on the YouTube channel. And that is to say, if you haven't yet found our podcast, please come and check that out. And also, if you are not a patron and you would like to support the work I'm doing here, to support me in producing the content that I do, both here on the podcast, then please consider becoming a patron. And you can do that by going to patreon.com/self-sufficient hub. And the link is in the description as always. Shannon says, remind me to come to you next time I have a problem that needs a logical solution. Well, it is one of my strengths, actually, is problem solving. I'm pretty good at it. And yeah, there you go. The podcasts are great. Thank you, Jeff and Deb. And yeah, that's going to wrap us up, I think. As always, guys, much love to each and every one of you who joined me here live today. You guys are amazing. And if you're not live, but you're watching later, then thank you for watching as well. And if all goes to plan, we will be back up and running with regular videos over the next few days. I am going to take a couple of days off. But, something will be coming out this week. And in a week or two, we'll be up to full steam ahead again. So, and press the like button, guys. Absolutely. Thank you, Shannon. And I'll speak to you all really